Welcome, everybody. I call to order the July 13th, 2021 applicant interview portion of our city council meeting for the city of Hermosa Beach. Madam Acting Clerk, would you take the roll, please?
Yes, Councilmember Jackson.
Here.
Councilmember Campbell.
Here.
Councilmember Armato.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Detoy.
Here.
And Mayor Massey.
Here.
All present.
All right. And we have a little bit of feedback for council members Jackson and Mayor Pro Tem. It sounds like, I'm not sure if they're being picked up on two different mics, but I just wanted to point that out in case there's a way for us to either disable their mics in council chambers or otherwise eliminate the duplication. So I see on the informal agenda that I have that we have a public comment period set aside. And do we have anybody queued up for public comment?
We have no one joining us from the public at the moment.
Okay, and that's both on Zoom and by phone?
Correct.
All right. So seeing no one interested in providing public comment, I will go ahead and pass by the public comment portion. We will satisfy that without opening or closing public comment. And that brings us to our applicant interviews. Do we have Commissioner Lang ready to be interviewed?
We do, Mayor. I'm not sure if every council members are ready with which questions they're going to ask each applicant yet. Did everyone get a chance to review the questions?
I certainly did. Are there any council members who need a moment to review the questions we have asked at prior applicant interviews for the Parks and Rec Commission? Councilmember Campbell.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just have a kind of a related question, whether or not you have a preferred order for how we ask the questions and which ones each of us will ask, I guess.
No, I do not. My only sense is that it provides some consistency if each person asks the same question to each of the applicants, but otherwise I was simply going to, I know any of us have the prerogative to generate our own questions. We also have questions we've used in the past that have been made available to the council. So I was simply going to call on the first council member to ask the question they wanted to ask and then go in turn around all council members. And each of you can pick whichever question you want to ask. And then you can change it up if you want to, or ask the same question of each of the applicants. It's each council member's prerogative.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Okay, if we're ready, I'll go ahead and admit Yanni Lang.
All right. And while Commissioner Lang is coming on, is there any council member who would like to be the first person to ask questions? Well, since we have Commissioner Lang with us, good job putting a tie on. So you've been through this before, Yanni. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply toss it over to any council member who wants to kick things off by asking the first question. And if there's too long of a delay, then I'll just call on one of the members of council so we can get this started. Does anybody want to kick it off?
I'm happy to ask a question, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Councilmember Armato, fire away.
Thank you. And thank you for being here, Yanni. Thank you for reapplying. My question to you is, what would you envision getting done if you were reappointed to the commission?
So thank you. That's a great question. That's one of the reasons I'm reapplying. A two-part answer for me actually is to complete projects that I started 8 years ago. I don't think it's fair to light the fuse and run away, to use an analogy. I was tasked with improving the Surfers Walk of Fame tribute. And I'm very proud of working with staff, past council members, as well as the stakeholders within the surfing community, as well as not only locally, but internationally, to elevate the Surfers Walk of Fame tribute up until now. There's still a few more moving parts that we need to finalize. I'm sure it's been brought to your attention that we can no longer put plaques on the pier for several reasons. First, we're running out of space. Second of all, there is also a weight issue. And most importantly, the plaques aren't getting the recognition that they deserve. They're getting damaged, two have been stolen. And to recognize the pioneers who ultimately have given, helped give this town its identity, I am embarrassed to have their friends and family come and look at the plaques in the condition that they are now. So one of the critical components for me to complete as a commissioner would be to help redefine the location of where to pay tribute to them. There are two locations that we are looking at, we've been considering. We've even had artists come down and give us renditions, but that's a work in progress. Another project I'd like to see to completion is the project that former Commissioner Robert Rosenfeld invited me to be a part of. That is the evolution and the future envisionment of the Hermosa Theater. It's a place that I hold close to my heart. I've had the opportunity to stand on that stage as a child, so have my kids, and it's really it's a crown jewel that is underutilized at this point. The few operators that have used it understand its value. The few community members that have enjoyed it appreciate it. I feel it can be elevated to a higher level. Once again, the fuse has been lit, and I feel that it's important for somebody who has historical knowledge, not only of the facility, but as an operator there, but someone who helped ride shotgun, for lack of better words, with Commissioner Rosenfeld, who did an amazing job starting this whole project. I would like to walk in his footsteps, as well as with my fellow Commissioner Lauren Pizer-Maines, who has done a lot of work on that project. For it to go to a novice commissioner without some sort of guidance, I feel like the progress we've got to this point would come to a halt, quite frankly. And finally, I would like to continue shepherding the evolution of the special events policy, which I was on the ground floor of. And as you guys know, special events are an integral part in Hermosa Beach. And as COVID restrictions open up, and as you're seeing now, we're getting a flood of new applicants. A lot of special events are coming back to town, and having that historical knowledge of that document, as well as being able to help vet and help train whoever else works with me, if I do have that privilege, to get it to a place where we can have events that the town appreciates, our businesses encourage and want, and as well as our guests that do come to town, as well as residents, just enjoy. So that's what I'd like to complete.
Perfect. Thank you, Yanni. Thank you for your service as well.
All right. Councilmember Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question builds a little bit on Yanni's answer. So Yanni, as a bit of an extension, it's a kind of a two-part question. How familiar are you with recent projects that the community resources team has been working on, including number one, the community theater needs assessment, and secondly, the parks master plan update?
So Parks Master Plan, I have only been involved with on the dais. I was not part of that special or that subcommittee. Peripherally, I have not been hands-on like past commissioners. As far as the theater assessment needs, involved with it since the subcommittee formed. How do I answer that question? Just been intimately involved with the entire process since Robert invited me to be a part of this subcommittee.
All right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Member Pro Tem or Councilmember Jackson, I can't see you guys. Now I can see you. Would one of you like to raise your hand and ask the next question?
Sure. Yanni, thank you for your reapplication. Let's see, what is there specifically in your background, training, education, or interest that qualifies you for your appointment? And what special qualities and qualifications can you bring to the commission?
Well, I'll always say that somebody's better than me. And by having that open-minded perspective, I'm always willing to learn. I don't feel comfortable talking about myself very often, but since you asked the question, I will. As a born and raised Hermosa Beach native, I have seen a lot of transition occur. My wife is a kindergarten teacher, and she at Hermosa View, and she is as boots on the ground as possible. Now, the reason I bring that up is because as this town develops, a lot of new families are introduced to Hermosa Beach activities and culture at that point when they enter the school system. And I have had the privilege of meeting so many families through my wife and through the kindergarten program. And it is amazing to see how quickly not only do the kids learn about our rich culture, whether it's music, volleyball, surfing, skateboarding, but the parents through osmosis learn through their kids' eyes. So that is by being boots on the ground on an educational level with my wife, that's another component. I have 3 kids also. I'm an assistant coach. I'm involved with soccer, basketball, baseball. I'm seeing things from a unique perspective as somebody who has children that are utilizing the parks to their fullest. I find recreation in the ocean, surfing has a huge capacity or a huge identity of Hermosa Beach. I live and breathe that. I make my living off that culture, that history. I know it intimately. And I think by having that knowledge, it rounds me out with those other elements of being a commissioner. And finally, perseverance. I've applied. This will be my 5th time interviewing because I care, you guys. I care. I'm here to complete some projects that we started 8 years ago, as I said earlier. And then also the word innovation and forward thinking is something that's been a conversation as of recent. And there's some ideas that I would love to use the next term to complete, or at least to get it off to a really, really good start, because I'm realistic. I know how slow things work. Nothing happens overnight. We can all have grand ideas, but having that municipal timeline in my head, it helps me plan properly. It helps me present properly, helps me put the right players into place to ultimately complete that project, or projects, should I say. And I just care, man. I love it. It's so much fun. So I hope that's a sufficient answer.
All right, Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you, Yanni. Appreciate your willingness to step into the ring again.
Oh, and finally, I apologize. Professionally, I have over 20 years of special event coordination expertise internationally, whether it's working with musicians or on-site production. And I think that's another critical element that I forgot to add that I bring to the table, whether it's vetting a volleyball tournament or vetting concert producers or just a Santa Claus 10K run. I've kind of seen it all, and I know what to look for in an application, more importantly, what to look for in an event producer who's going to do this community the justice it deserves by inviting somebody to host an event on our soil. Thank you.
Well, thanks for completing your answer there, Yanni. And again, thanks for jumping into the ring and your willingness to continue to serve our great community. So I'm as stoked as you are, as you like to say. So just real quickly, if you can just explain to me your thoughts on the relationship between Parks and Rec and Council, and is there anything that we can be doing better to help support you all in your endeavors?
Well, I think it's more important that the entire commission as well as the community understands the relationship, the service that we provide to the council. We're merely advisory to you guys. We do our research, we do our due diligence, we talk to the community, we work with staff, and then we make a recommendation. And whatever direction it goes, we're satisfied. So that I want everybody to be clear that I understand my responsibility to the council. As far as requesting anything from council in the future is, I just love talking to you guys, whether it's a simple email correspondence or a phone call. It's just whether, hey, Yanni, what do you think about X, Y, and Z? Whether it's, whether it's how the waves were or how, the football game went. But I like regular communication. I'm not saying that hasn't happened in the past. It's the only thing that I can really think of that I truly enjoy.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. Commissioner Lang, what can the city do better in terms of managing our parks and recreational amenities?
there's so many different aspects to that question. I'm thinking of South Park right now and the terrible shape it's in. I'm thinking of how long it's taken to get bathrooms installed. I'm thinking how frustrated the downtown businesses have been when it comes to events that are too big. I really feel that it comes down to communication, expanding some subcommittee titles, expanding liaison roles, interfacing with all facets, whether it's AYSO, Little League, people who participate in those parks, people who are on the beaches, people who frequent the plaza. I really would love to see a more deeper integration between the Downtown Business Association, the Chamber, and Parks and Rec, because the decisions that Parks and Rec make have a very significant impact on the ebb and flow of customers and people and tourists down there. And right now, I couldn't be more excited about the new leadership that we have over at the Chamber of Commerce. I'm sure you guys have already seen. If not, go look at their Instagram. They just announced their new evolution of the Fiesta, which without any sort of deep conversation, I was just impressed with what I saw. It looks very fun. It looks evolved. I would love to get our commission involved with that organization more. But it just boils down to more conversations with stakeholders in the community, whether it's the parks, the beach, the plaza, the theater, etc. And I know it's easier said than done, but it requires time, relationships, and a genuine passion.
Excellent. Last question. Is that you getting tubed in the background?
16th Street, Mike Balzer shot that off the pier. And if you guys don't know who Mike Balzer is, he's a world-renowned local photographer. He shot all the best people, and by no means, dude, I'm an awful surfer, but when he sent that to me, I got to show my kids, look, Dad can surf.
All right. All right. Well, I'm going to excuse you and thank you for your time, Yanni, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. If I don't mind, could I make a closing statement? If not,
Sure.
I'll gladly leave.
Go ahead.
And I'll make it quick. If I get the opportunity and the privilege to serve the community for one more term, outside of completing what I've started, I really, really am passionate about improving the skate park. This is a conversation that has come up several times since the structure got built. It was built in a time when skate parks were just getting back on the map. That park is antiquated. It's borderline impossible to skate. Entry-level kids can't learn. The best in the community don't want to come there. Now, this isn't just a dream of mine. This is feedback that I've gotten from the community of all ages. This is feedback I've gotten from our surf shops and skate shops in the community. Now, by paying attention to what's going on in town, I intend to use a page out of Little League's playbook, particularly Logan Field. That is a footprint that only was improved. I'm not looking to do anything more other than improve the park, not looking to expand, not looking to take away parking, anything like that. We have the space, we just need to improve it. I've worked with other cities, whether it's Mammoth, San Luis Obispo, to help raise funds for skate parks from the ground level up. We have the privilege that all we're looking to do is design, demo, and build. That would be a project that I would like to continue working forward on and complete if given the opportunity as a commissioner once again. So guys, put me to work. I've got the passion, I've got the history, I've got the authenticity. I just want to do it. So thank you guys very much. Have a wonderful day. And thank you guys for serving Hermosa Beach. It's not an easy job, and I appreciate you guys more than you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Yanni. Before you go really quickly, Councilmember Campbell, did you have anything you wanted to ask? We're slightly over time with Yanni, but I didn't want to.
No, I hadn't raised my hand. I already asked a question. So.
Okay, great. All right, Yanni.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, Commissioner Advisor Maines. Can you hear us? You're on mute.
Hi. Yeah, I'm seeing a double of everybody. This is a very strange screen I'm seeing. So how's this working? So these are so we have some members in chamber and then some remote.
This is hybrid, so we'll see how it works as we go around and ask our questions. So I'm going to kick it off first with Councilmember Armato, who will ask the first question.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
Thank you for reapplying. Thank you for your service. My question to you, if reappointed, what would be your priorities over that term?
My priorities would be to see to completion some of the major projects that we're working on in town. We have our iconic and most important spaces that we have been looking to renovate and make more welcoming and user-friendly, like the Clark Center and our community theater. And I'd like to at least, I know the finishing and getting through the Clark Center building is attainable. And I'd like to see us make real progress on the community theater. And also, work I'd like to the extent that it's possible for us to be involved in the parks master plan and to help engage the community on that. I think those are some of the major things. There are other issues as well, but those are some of the major.
Thank you.
Councilmember Campbell.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Once again, you've queued up my question very nicely, Lauren, and I also thank you for your service to our city in this commissioner capacity. So since you've mentioned a couple of the things my question's related to, you might just go into a little bit more detail, and it's about the a little bit of what you know about the status of the community center needs assessment process and also the parks master plan. So you referenced both of those projects. If you just a little bit more about your sense of where those are at presently.
Well, as a commission, we're kind of waiting to see on both of those. There's been much more hands-on action for the Clark building. Part of the reason being is that for very good reason, the parks, community resources director was out, manager was out for a bit, and that's a major project and was really waiting for Kelly to get back. The assessment is done. We hired a firm and that is done. And now I believe that city staff has been looking at it, and we are waiting very soon, I hope, to get back together as a subcommittee and review it, because it's been a bit and COVID certainly didn't help. And then to take some steps to take some next steps and plan this out. I'm personally bummed because actually I was a little bit distracted because I'm working on a bunch of budget things, and the governor just signed off on the budget. And I have been advocating for huge amounts of arts and cultural funding in the state. And, unfortunately, we as a city weren't teed up to take advantage of the nice funds that we had available this year, which is a disappointment. And I encourage the city to, when we're ready, to ask for some grant funding as we move forward. But yeah, we really should get going on that. And I kind of think, and I want to get together with the staff and discuss this, but I think maybe we look at this as phases, and we kind of phase in what we need to do, which might be a more realistic approach, and budget it in phases and see what we need to do. I always thought we had a proposal for, A or B, but I really thought we had something that we should be doing in the middle, which is a combination, maybe not we're not big enough to be a regional performing arts center, but we could certainly present some ready-made, shows and do something in between where we wouldn't need to do everything, but we could do some of, we could do things beyond, renting out the facility. So I'd like to see what direction we take, and I think we can take things in an exciting direction. We just need to get going on that. And then for the Parks Master Plan, we're also kind of waiting to see what our role is with the city, and we're just ready to serve, whatever we can do. And even if it means, taking, pieces of it and taking a look at those pieces while we tee things up, I think we should do that. I mean, I'm really interested in the green belt. I think that's been ignored for quite a while, and I'd like us to give that some TLC, and maybe we look at pieces of that. I think we need some real community engagement with it. I think consultants are really good, and you do parse this out to consultants, but I think the community, I think the city council, the Parks Commission, and our other entities, and Public Works certainly knows our city best, as do our residents. And so we need all stakeholders to be weighing in on this.
Great. Thank you, Lauren.
Okay.
All right. Just a quick time check. We're at 4:28, so we have about 2 minutes. Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay.
Perfect. Great to see you, Lauren. What
Yeah.
specifically in your background, training, education, or interest qualifies for the appointment? And what can you bring to the commission or continue to bring?
Oh, hey, that's a heavy hitting question. Well, I think if you reflect back on my last 4 years, I hope I've served you well. But I do have events experience from large to small events. So I understand where our applicants are coming from in terms of the complexity of events and what they need. I have an environmental background as well. I kind of have the arts and environment thing going. So I cherish our open spaces and how valuable they are to our community, and what we need to do to preserve those open spaces for our health and well-being. So I have kind of the arts, culture, events, and environmental background. I was trying to make that quick.
Well done. Councilmember Jackson.
In the interest of time, Mr. Mayor, I'm fine with just a closing statement if that works for you.
I'm sorry, you're going to pass?
In the interest of time, if Lauren just wants to make a closing couple of remarks, I'm fine with that.
Sure. Did you, Lauren, did you have remarks that you wanted to provide us?
Well, in the interest of time, I won't say much. I will just, I know this is a bit unusual perhaps, but I will make a closing plug for a fellow commissioner and applicant, Yanni Lang. I do think that he is the heart and soul of the commission. He has invaluable experience and is a very thoughtful voice on the commission, and I I know, as I said, it's an unusual closing statement, but I'd like to just put in a real enthusiastic plug for Yanni, because he adds so much value.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your work on the commission, and thanks for reapplying.
Okay, well, thank you all. And I think I will be seeing you all in just a little bit.
Indeed.
Okay, goodbye. I will leave.
Hi, Tara, can you hear us?
Oh, there I am. Hello. How are you guys?
Good, thank you. All right, we're going to dive right into questions. We'll go around and get as many questions as we can done in 10 minutes. And if we have time at the end, we'll give you a chance to fill in any gaps and provide any additional information. We'll go around and get as many questions as we can done in 10 minutes. And if we have time at the end, we'll give you a chance to fill in any gaps and provide any additional information. We'll go around.
Okay.
And get as many questions.
I'm having some technical issues.
Fill in any gaps and provide any.
Sounds looping.
Okay. I'm having some technical issues.
Does anybody have the meeting running in the background?
Sounds looping.
I'm having some technical issues.
Does anybody have the meeting running in the background?
It's looping. Here, do you want to come back to me and I'll see
Does anybody
if I have
have
every
the meeting
window
running in the
closed?
background?
It's looping.
Yes. Why don't we do that?
Do you want to come back to me? I'll leave and rejoin.
Does anybody-
If I
Okay, do we want our next applicant up,
Yes.
Ann?
So next will be Thomas Maroney.
Okay. Hi, Tom. Can you hear us? You're on mute.
There,
All right.
Now?
Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you fine.
Perfect. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to go around. Each of the council members will ask a question. If we have time at the end, we will allow you to have a little bit of time to talk and fill in any gaps and provide any information we may not have prompted.
Okay,
First question will come from Councilmember Stacey Armato.
Hi, Tom. Thank
Hi.
you for applying. My question to you is, what would be your priorities if you were appointed to the commission?
I think the priority for me on the commission, or the commission in general, is to make sure that the parks and beach are made most accessible to everyday use of the residents, recreational uses of the residents. Related to that is to make sure that they can be used safely, which wraps in things like e-bikes. And I understand there is discussion of a dog park now. I mean, those sort of things do feed into how the parks can be used safely. But I think the priority is the residents need to have open space and recreational uses of the parks, more so than commercial uses.
All right.
Thank you.
Councilmember Campbell.
Yes. Tom, thank you for putting your hat in this particular ring. My question builds on a couple of projects that kind of sit in the Parks and Rec space. So if you have any insights on where we have stand a little bit with the thinking around the community theater and needs assessment, as well as the parks master plan update, which is somewhere in process.
That I'm not familiar with. I'm not familiar with how the community theater uses the community center. I'm just not very familiar with that. So
Okay.
I can't really give you much insight on that. It was something I'd need to become up to speed with.
Very good. I understand totally. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Tom, for applying for this position. What specifically in your background, training, education, or interest qualifies for the appointment? And what can you bring to the commission?
Well, other than being over 18 and a resident of Hermosa, I say that jokingly. I do use the parks almost every day. I am in the parks. Since I moved here, 35 years ago, originally was on the Strand every day bicycling. And then it became in my 40s and 50s, I would be a beach runner. Now I am in the parks every day, hiking them, walking them. I see them every day. I see how they're used. I see where they're utilized and not utilized. I do have a little bit of expertise on one issue that overlaps with the parks, and that is I have done a lot of ADA litigation. So I'm familiar not only with the legal ADA issues, but also with the practical issues as to how to make things accessible. And I know with respect to the Greenbelt, that's certainly a topic that the city has considered recently. I know it's also an issue that's being played out with respect to access to the sand. So on that specific issue, I think I do have a little bit of expertise. As far as any special expertise beyond that, I would just say, I love the parks. I'm passionate about them. I want to see them used as best as they can be in the city.
All right. Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you, Tom. Pleasure to meet you, and thanks for stepping up to serve our great little beach city. You've alluded to this already, but we all know how important parks and recreation activities are in terms of quality of life for our residents. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you specifically are interested in serving on this commission.
I think this commission has the most interesting issue portfolio in the city. It touches on so many things that affect so many people. I also think it's a commission that, if done correctly, can make almost everybody happy. And I know the rebuttal to that is pickleball. But I think the commission now is doing a very good job I think the commission can always do a very good job just by serving the community. As far as specifics, like I said, I think specific issues that could be better addressed would be ADA. I think specific issues that can be better addressed would be the e-bikes. I think the homeless workshop pretty much demonstrated that the city's all over that right now completely and is addressing it. But those are three issues that do overlap with the parks that I see when I'm out there every day.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that.
All right. Hey, Tom, you, I think, preempted my question, which could be, what can the city do better in managing its parks and recreational amenities? You can answer that question if you have more to add, but let me just give you a second question, and that is, what are we doing right that you would like to build upon?
I think as far as the outside parks and beaches, the maintenance of them is great. I think we're doing that right. I think the people who are out there, and they're out there, every day you see them working either on the Greenbelt or Clark Field. I think the maintenance is great. I know there was a project, I know we're somewhere in the project of bringing the restrooms, improving the restrooms. Going forward, what can we do different? I mean, the one thing that I've thought about the most or have some expertise in is I think you can make the Greenbelt accessible without turning it into a bike path, which is where you get pushback. People don't want to see the Greenbelt become so accessible that it becomes a bike path. The area of the Greenbelt across from Clark Field is flush to the parking lot. So that entire area could be resurfaced in a way where the mobility disabled could have far greater access to that part of the Greenbelt, and that'd be a very large park for them. The facilities, the physical facilities, I know we're working on the Clark building. We need to do that. The community center, either we need to address that or it needs to be addressed as much part of a much larger plan, which is, what do we do with the city's overall facilities, City Hall? Because the facilities are all fairly old. And, I would say South Park's building is, these are not up-to-date, nice buildings. They're used a lot and they are fairly old.
All right. So that completes our round of questions. Do you have any additional information that you'd like to provide, or a closing statement or anything?
I would say this: you have a good commission. You have good people on it. You ask a lot of them. I know they work extremely hard. I watch the meetings. I understand what they're doing on the subcommittees. And if you like your commission, then you should certainly reappoint them all, or two or three of them. I don't know if two are running or three. I couldn't figure that out. I think the city is better served if there is turnover on the commissions and between commissions. I think it gives a breadth of expertise and knowledge to the city. It gives them sort of a deeper bench. It puts people out into the community that know different people. So other residents of the community know someone who is also serving the city and can approach that person about information of what's going on with the city. I did the Civil Service Commission. It was not a very difficult 5 years. It's not a commission that's very flashy. It's not a commission that takes a lot of work, at least meeting-wise. They're very short meetings. I do think I served the city as best as I could during those 5 years. I think we accomplished some things. I would like to do something that's more interesting to me and something that I'm more passionate about, which would be this. And I thank you all for hearing me out. It's an opportunity. I love the city.
Great. Thank you, Tom, for your work on the Civil Service Commission and for applying for this commission and for taking time to come on and talk to us.
All right. Well, thank you.
And you can, you're excused. There you go. All right. And I'm sure our next applicant will come up in a moment. All right. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Hopefully you can only hear me one time.
Yes, that's what it sounds like, which is outstanding. All right. So what we'll do is each of the council members will ask you a question in turn, and then if we have time left over at the end, we'll let you fill in any gaps, provide any additional information you might want to provide.
Okay, sounds
All
good.
right. Councilmember Armato, first question.
All right, Tara, thank you for applying. My question to you is, what would be your priorities if you were appointed to the commission?
Well, as you guys know, I have lots of ideas for great things that I think we could do here in Hermosa Beach to make it even greater. And a lot of the ideas that I had when I ran for city council really fell into the Parks and Rec bucket. And so I was thrilled that there was that an opening became available that perhaps I could fill. My biggest initiative is city pool. I know you guys know it well. I talked about it for months. And to each of you individually. But as a city near the beach, I just think it's astonishing we don't have a place to teach kids to swim. And of course, pools offer lots of other benefits to seniors, to those who are with disabilities or recovering from injuries. And sometimes the ocean just doesn't cut it. And I think a pool should be high on our agenda list. I know we have so much we need to do, but I do believe in talking and learning about things while I was running for city council that there is a way to get it funded and get it done. And I believe there are locations. I have several locations in mind, and I would love to spearhead that and find out like if this could be a reality, because I think it is. Also, as discussed, I'd like to work on establishing a punk rock museum and building upon the work that the Historical Society and Yanni actually have already done. We do have the Surfers Walk of Fame. We do have the jazz plaques. We have things that recognize part of our history. And I think this is an important, more recent part of our history, but I think it's time. There is a punk rock museum in Reykjavik, Iceland, and that's weird to me that they do and we don't. And I think that we should right that wrong. And I do again have locations, and I see where we could like work it into the Parks Master Plan, perhaps. Also, concerts and movies at the beach, bring that back. I know that's on everyone's mind. I know the pandemic we've had different issues that made that go astray. I would love to be a part of that and bringing that back. And also, nearly everyone in Hermosa Beach has a dog, and we need to find a place where dogs can run and interact that's safe for them and safe for the residents. And I know, Justin, that you specifically had told me that this was a super hard problem to solve, but I have ideas on how we can approach that. And I would love to do that too. So, and I also know that improving the skate park is important to a lot of people. And I have a skater daughter who specifically doesn't use our park and skates it in other cities' parks. So I would love to help fix that issue as well and kind of figure out how we can improve our skate park.
All right. Councilmember Campbell.
All right, Tara, welcome and thank you for continuing to stay engaged. I have a question about your thoughts with regard to the use of our community center. It's been under some evaluation and needs assessment, and anything more you might add to as you see the needs of the status of the Parks Master Plan.
Yeah, I mean, well, I do know that the community center, the plan is to renovate it. It needs some work. And then there's been some talk about, maybe we could add more, do more with the parking. I did speak with someone at the city that they thought perhaps the city pool could be worked in there. There are different factors. I know money is an issue with it. I would like to help be a part of figuring out the funding and figuring out a way to go forward. In regard to the theater assessment needs, interestingly, there's someone in our community who is looking to put a movie theater in Hermosa Beach. And, I'd love to explore the idea of, is there a way that we could somehow share the space and therefore, find a way to improve it and bring in revenue and share revenue maybe with this movie theater idea. But, I would love to just dive into all of it. I don't think I'm an expert in it like Yanni and Lauren are, who know it much better than I do, but I'm a researcher. That's what I do. I'd love to dig in.
Great, thank you.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you for throwing your hat in the ring. What specifically in your background, training, education, or interest qualifies you for this appointment, and what can you bring to the commission?
Well, I'd say the biggest thing is that I ran for city council, and even though I didn't win, I got to talk to so many people who were in the residents, and I shared with them my ideas, and I found a lot of support for them. I also learned a lot about the city and how it works and what's important here and why things don't get done. And I believe that really is a good lead into this job. I don't think that it by far gives me enough experience to know probably exactly what I'm getting into, but I think it's a great entry. Also, you know, another parts of Parks and Rec beyond sports and activities is entertainment. And I am an entertainment professional. I've worked in, you know, a lot in the journalism side, but also other areas in music, movies, TV, digital, have had a couple of scrappy little businesses through the years. And so, you know, I know entertainment's a big part of it, and I think I can contribute on that level. Like Yanni said earlier, I have kids, one's at junior guards right now. The beach, running, biking on the Strand, that's a big part of our lives. My kids have grown up at Valley Park, South Park, Clark Field, the Greenbelt, participating in the Easter egg hunt, Fiesta Hermosa. I mean, concerts and movies at the beach. We've even done lawn bowling. So, I mean, my kids are 10, 20, and 26. So between them and then my husband and I, we really have, you know, we experience Hermosa Beach in the Parks and Rec divisions every day. We back up to Clark Field, so I see it every day, you know? And I also think I really like working with people. And so I think that that's something that could be an asset here. A lot of my work as a writer is isolated and alone and in my head. And so I really thrive and love when I get to collaborate. I have big ideas, but I also really love hearing other people's ideas and think that our ideas should all just kind of springboard upon each other. And I think too, that we can work in a way in which we're yes-anding each other, and that we don't have to do one thing. It doesn't mean, well, we're doing this, but this is going to hurt the business community, or to do this, we have to take this away from someone else. I think that if we all work together, we can find ways where, you know, where we can all be happy with the outcome. And so I would say my optimism then is also a benefit to this job.
All right, great. Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tara, nice to see you, and thanks for throwing your hat in the ring.
Thank you.
We all know, obviously, in our community, how important Parks and Recreation and the role it plays in the quality of our life. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving on Parks and Rec in particular, outside of your great ideas that you have. You can just sort of expand on that. You know, why in particular Parks and Rec?
Well, I mean, that really is why. I think that these ideas that I come up with mainly from like being outside and enjoying Hermosa Beach. I mean, I think of them when I'm running. I think of them when I'm biking. I think of them when I'm watching, you know, my kids play activities doing flag football, you know, and so because I'm out there enjoying all of these things and just love Hermosa so much, I you know, these ideas come to me, and I just think that, you know, if we have ideas, we should share them, and we should get involved. We should not just keep it to ourselves, not just mention to our friends like, hey, why don't they do this? Or even worse, complain about why they're not doing this. We need to get involved more. And I really think that Parks and Rec is the area that I can be most helpful. I think that's it, really.
All right,
Thank you.
perfect. We are down to about a minute, so I'm going to give you two options. One is, I think we've covered what you would like to do, what we can do better. If you want to add to that, feel free. If you want to talk about stuff that you think we're doing right, that you would like to build on, you can talk about that. Or if you have remarks that are totally separate from either of those questions that you want to make sure we have before we decide, now's your opportunity to do so.
Yeah, I mean, really, I'm just passionate about Hermosa Beach. I love it here. You know, I've lived here for nearly a decade, and I think that the time before living here is helpful to helping shape it, because I really appreciate everything that Hermosa Beach has to offer. We really are an extraordinary city, and we're so small that people can get involved. But, you know, we are a city of Parks and Rec. Like, we're a lifestyle city. And so I find that this commission is probably the most, I mean, not the most useful out of all of them. They all have value, but I just think it's, you know, compared to other cities, this is really where we shine. And because it's not just for our residents who enjoy all of these things, you know, we're hosts to so many who come in to enjoy it as well. And so I just want to make it a great experience for everyone.
Terrific. Well, thank you, Tara, for your time. And thank you for applying. And we will all talk with you very soon.
Thanks for your consideration.
Hi, Isabel. Can you hear us? You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You can hear us, okay?
Yes, and excuse the way I sound. Because of the weather, I'm having an asthma. I'm in the middle of an asthma situation.
Okay. Do you need to reschedule?
No, I can go through. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. What we'll do is we'll go around, each of the council members will ask a question, time permitting, and then if we have time at the end, we'll open the floor to you to provide any additional information we may not have covered.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's messy.
Okay. Councilmember Armato.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Isabel, for applying. My question to you is, what would be your priorities if you were appointed to the commission?
Well, as many of you know, I was involved with Access Hermosa. And we had the opportunity to go through all the, I don't know if you can see me here.
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, we went through all the buildings and all the facilities. And I was real happy to see that one of our recommendations was implemented at Valley Park, where they made it accessible to go down by the fire pit and put benches where people were in the wheelchairs, and also accessibility to the barbecues. That would probably be one of my top priorities. I was very instrumental having pickleball come into Hermosa. As you know, I'm very involved with a lot of senior issues. And so since that is one of my, since I'm involved, that would be one of my priorities, along with every other issue that is important to the parks and the constituents of Hermosa.
Thank you, Isabel.
All right. Councilmember Campbell.
Isabel, good evening, and thank you for being here and applying for this position. My question is related to your thoughts about the status of the community center theater and where we're headed with that, as well as the parks master plan.
Many, many years ago, I was on that board. And in those days, and I want to say in those days, because it was a long time ago, it was very successful. We had incredible talent come in. And for some reason, it went down to the wayside. And I would certainly like to see the theater continue to upgrade. I'd like to see the upgrade of the facilities and see if we can resurrect bringing a talent to that theater.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem.
Good to see you, Isabel. I'm sorry you're not feeling too hot today.
Oh, that's okay. I go through this all the time with the weather change.
So
But I live through it. I'm a tough lady.
it's good to see you. Specifically, is there anything in your background, training, education, or interests that qualify you for this appointment? And what can you bring to the commission?
Well, I'm not sure if many of you know, but I was given the opportunity to be a Park and Rec commission for 2 years. And what I bring to the table is experience. Don't think there's anything in this community that I have not been involved with. And not only involved with, but I've rolled up my sleeves and worked very, very hard And many of those projects are still around. One of them that I'm still involved with is the Hermosa Beach Community Garden, and it is very successful. I know we've had a chance to go poke around and see how beautiful the garden looks. That said, again, a thing that I was very, very involved with and very proud of was the Pets in the Park. What I brought to Pets in the Park is I made sure that and most events that I could get it to was the water monster. Not sure if that would be a good idea right now because of the water situation, but in past situations, the water monster was available for everyone to fill up their water jugs so they wouldn't be buying bottled water. Also with Pets in the Park, I was able to bring the blessing of the animals. And what was great about that is I went out to every church, every denomination to be involved. And especially in days today, it is really important that we involve all of our communities and all people of different backgrounds. And that's what Pets in the Park did. Also, when I talk about experience, not only have I been involved with so many community activities, I'm also, or was, on the board of the California Association of Park and Recreation Commissioners and board members. Unfortunately, because I did not get on a Park and Rec commission, I could not be on the board, but what they did was I worked very hard with them also, and because of the work that I did with them, they have made me an honorary member. And they have been hoping, they have all these years have been giving me the encouragement to continue to try to be put on Park and Rec Commission. So hopefully, maybe someday I'll be able to be put back as a board member with that group.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Jackson.
Isabel, nice to see you. Thank you for tossing your hat into the ring, and thanks for what you've done and what you continue to do for our great city. It's folks like you that make it as great as it is, so thank you for everything you do. You answered my question already as part of Mike DeToy's question, so I've got nothing else to add. Thank you.
All right. Isabel, my quick turn to ask a question. What can the city do better in managing its parks and recreational amenities? And or what is the city doing well that you would like to build on?
I realize that there's always a pecking order for things that need to be done, especially in a small city like ours. Funds are not always available. It just takes time and patience. I remember when I first got on the Park and Rec Commission, one of the things that was very important, and it was a little thing, very little thing, and that was to put a bench in front of the community center. And I remember being told, if you get that done, good luck, because things just take a long time. Well, with persistence, it got done very quickly. And that little bench is important because for seniors, when they go on their bus trips, that's for those who have limited capacity of standing, it could at least sit on a bench and wait for the buses to come. So I've been very adamant about trying to get the community garden, not the community garden, but the garden in front of the community center cleaned up. I don't know if you've seen it, but it needs love, and also it's overgrown over the bench. So we need to get it cleaned up. Also, not only just cleaned up, but you know, that whole area represents who we are. It doesn't have curb appeal. So when you look at it as you're driving by and saying that's Hermosa Beach, it doesn't speak well of us. So I would like to see that cleaned up. And I know that you're working on it and there's issues regarding that because it has been delegated to, I think it's the Metropolitan Water or the West Basin Water District. So hopefully that'll be taken care of soon. And then we can have our bench back for our seniors now that we're opening up. And it's not just for seniors, but it's always given me great pride as I drive by and I see families sitting there, just kind of watching the day go by. So as a community activist, I guess you could say, I realize that you have obstacles. I realize that you have a pecking order of things that seem to be more important than others. But in reality, if somehow we could balance those out a little bit more for the totality of our residents, the beach mats, you know, we paid money for those and I sure would like to see them continue to go out and maybe get a better resource of volunteers to keep it cleaned and organized.
All right. Thank you, Isabel, for applying, for the work that you've done and for taking the time to meet with us, especially when you're feeling a little bit under the weather. I hope you feel better very soon.
I will. I
and-
just want to say, I don't, you know, I come because I come with a heart full of, this is my city. I want a seat at the table. And I have been trying for years and years and years. I had some community leaders. I've had friends that have come and said, you have done nothing wrong. They had me come and watch videos of when I was on the commission. I did nothing wrong. I got along with my fellow commissioners as far as I was concerned. I had a few call and say they were really sorry that they didn't understand either. So it's through the encouragement of the community that I come back. And I would like a seat at the table. And I think also it'd be wonderful to have a diverse group of ages. So it represents the community as a whole. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Isabel.
You're
We'll see you
welcome.
soon.
All right, take care, be safe.
You too. All right, that concludes this portion of our meeting. So, Ann, I assume we all leave this meeting and then we'll log on to our closed session meeting.
That's correct.
All right,
The
it is
open-
5:04 just for everybody's benefit, so we should log on right away.
The open portion of closed session.
All right.